Hello everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to have a look again at using multi-time frame analysis, this time on the BankNifty over there in India. But first we have to look at our risk disclaimer. Just remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and training purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. We'll be looking at a losing trade in the video today, and as such all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept, that losses can and will and do unfold. It's an important part of any trading approach that always will be losing trades. Right, here's the BankNifty for today, which is Monday the 12th of November. And you can see we have some automatic setups on our MTPredictor chart here. So the question being is, do we actually just blindly follow these as if it's a black box system, perhaps in the direction of our MTP trend, color-coded indicator there, which is red for down, blue for up, and black for in the period of making a potential change, or do we do something different? Well, we do something different. For you guys who've been following us for a while, will know that we teach that markets go in cycles. We call it the cyclical nature of trading, where markets are basically random for probably half the time or slightly longer, and only clear where you can do any analysis for the remaining half. So in other words, half the time you shouldn't be doing any analysis because the markets are just random. So how do we know when the markets are coming out of a random phase and looking a bit clearer? Well, we go to the higher time frame chart, and this is a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames higher. So if you're on a 3-minute chart, you'd go out to the 15-minute chart. If you say a 15-minute forex, you'd go out to the hourly. If you're looking at daily, say stocks, you'd go out to the weekly. And here we look to see whether the market is making meaningful reversals of higher time frame DP support and resistance zones. So let's go back to before today even opened, perhaps back here sometime. And we go back to a previous high or low. You can see here there was an important high basically on the previous day. So we right mouse click, we do decision point. Now can you see how this would have been on the chart in advance before today even opened? So this was an area of potential resistance on the higher time frame. If I turn training mode off, can you see how just reset the chart there, can you see how the market went up and basically just tagged that DP resistance area that made the high of the day, and after that the market started to decline. It was declining down quite nicely. So now if you go back to the 3-minute chart, can you see how on the 3-minute chart, here's our higher time frame resistance. The market tagged it nicely, therefore the picture was clear because it was making a meaningful reversal off a clear higher time frame resistance area. The market trend was therefore down. This then coincided with our MTP trend going red, so everything was looking to be quite clear at the time in and around these setups. So as such, you can see we had a TS3 sell setup here. We also had a history triangle a couple of bars earlier. So if I show training mode, I just want to go back to that first one there, and you can see that looked like a perfectly valid sell setup at the time. So if we right mouse click, do our analysis, you can see here we are. Oh, I'll just change that to a rupee account. Whatever value you want, a rupee account there, and that gives you the correct number of contracts for your size of rupee account. And as you can see, it was a good looking setup. It was good looking because we were coming off a meaningful resistance area. So let's go forward a little bit. That was then taking you into a short trade. Go forward a bit further. The market then basically went up and just about tagged the high level there, just about clipped it. So that would have actually stopped you out. So this would have actually been a losing trade. Remember what I said at the start, losses can and will and do happen. But this was only what we call a 1R or 1 risk unit loss. If I clear everything off, this then reset to what looks like another good trade. Do the analysis. Go forward, you can see that would have taken you into another short trade. If I now turn training mode off, you can see the market now went down to its first target very nicely indeed, where the profit was large, not just in rupees, but it was large in what we call risk reward units. In other words, our RR was 5.6 or approximately 5.5 or 5.5 times R. In other words, this profitable trade was 5.5 times greater than the initial risk, or 5.5 times greater than the previous losing trade. So I hope you can see this is what we try to do with MTPredictor. We don't try and avoid the losses, because there always will be losing trades, but we try to keep the losses small, in this case at just -1R, and the profits large, in this case at approximately 5.5R, when the profits come through. There was also another setup a bit later in the day here, but I want to just go back and just put our higher time frame DPs on. So that would have been the last swing into the high. So as the market was coming down, that's where your 3-minute TS3 sell was there. So the initial target for your DP support would have been here. The next one below that would have been back off this low, would have been down here. So how would this have looked on your 3-minute chart? Let's place the analysis back on this this TS3 sell setup here. So as you can see, this first one looked really nice and clear indeed, where our sell setup was going down into the higher time frame support here, off higher time frame resistance here. So this looked really nice, a clear, clean setup as well. This next sell setup here, this was actually at or in and around our potential support zone. That's why our MTP trend was going black. So would this be a good one to take? Well, if you were more conservative and you were very risk adverse, you'd probably want to avoid this. If you're slightly more aggressive, then what you could have done is still taken this sell setup, which as you can see did go down to its first target for a nice 2.9R profit, but knowing that you're in an area of where the market could well reverse, in other words potential support, what you could have done is once you got to the 100% initial risk level, which was here, you then could have bought your stop to break even. In other words, you knew that this picture on this particular setup was not clear or as clear as it was back here. Therefore, you could be more aggressive with your stop loss. But it all depends on what kind of trader you are, whether you're more conservative or more aggressive. That's why MTPredictor is not a black box system, because different traders will use it different ways. The market then went through this DP support level to reach the next lower DP support level there, where that nice profit was available. You wouldn't want to be swapping to a long trade here because you're already in a short trade on the way down. So hopefully this has been a good example of, first and foremost, to show how to do the higher time frame DP support and resistance zones, and that is what we use to define whether the market is in a clearer picture. Quite often the markets, you probably have known this yourself if you ever spent any time in front of the screens, that the markets are just look completely random. You just can't get an idea of what they're doing, and that's fine because that will happen over half the time. So the trick we have in MTPredictor is we have our higher time frame support and resistance zones. We have these on the chart in advance. We then look to see or wait to see till the market on the time frame you're trading makes a meaningful or clean reversal at these levels. That then defines the larger degree trend. We then look to take trade setups that are in that large degree trend, and within that there will be losing trades, as we've seen here. That would have been a losing trade. Then profitable trades as well, but we hope over time the profits will be large, but not large just in whatever currency you're using, but large in relation to the losses. So hopefully that's been a good example of looking at today on the BankNifty and showing how to use our higher time frame DP support and resistance zones, and how then to pick the trades that are falling in the direction of those larger degree trends. So a good day for MTPredictor unfolding there on the BankNifty today.